I'm Dan Purcell, a sex and intimacy coach for married couples. This video you're about to watch is part of a series that I'm doing answering questions that have been submitted anonymously. All right, let's dive in. I love your podcasts. My husband and I have started a new tradition where we listen to your podcast on the way to work and then we discuss it. It has helped us begin difficult topics that may otherwise be hard to bring up. Anyway, I hear frequently in your podcasts of the importance of the woman to take time to explore herself. My question is, what exactly entails exploring, and when is this to be done, with my spouse or by myself? I still feel some shame and guilt surrounding giving myself any pleasure, so I can't fully relax. Any tips there? Thanks. I'm so glad you like the podcast, and I love your tradition. That's such a great idea. And these podcasts are designed to be a conversation starter between you and your spouse, right? First of all, I want to say I don't advocate for anything that goes against your beliefs. So if you feel this is morally wrong to do, like this feels sinful for you, then by doing it, you're going to feel worse afterwards. So I don't recommend doing anything against that. That being said, let me explain a few things that I think that might be helpful. Yes, I've touched on the idea that it's important for women to take time to explore themselves. And let me explain my thinking around this. And I recognize I'm quite biased here in my opinion, speaking as a man. Ultrasound images of babies developing in their mother's womb show that children developing in the mother's womb touch their own genitals often. It's normal for babies after they're born to be interested in their various body sensations, including genital touch. This is critical to a child's brain development. It helps form healthy neural pathways as a brain learns to associate various sensations with parts of the body and to recognize the pleasurable sensations too. Pleasure is a very important part of life. And I think boys have an advantage here because they touch themselves when they pee. They're constantly making and reinforcing the neural connection that touching one's penis feels good, even if he's just peeing. As boys hit puberty and become young men in their teenage years, their body continues to develop its hardware. Adolescent boys experience erections, sometimes spontaneous and embarrassing, might I add, especially when waking up from sleep. And erections feel great. All this to say, when it comes to pleasure, boys and men are used to knowing what feels good sexually to them. It's almost second nature. In contrast, and generally speaking, culturally, women don't develop the same neural connections to their sexual pleasure. The pleasure center for women is the clitoris, and it's more inside and tucked away. I have no data on this, but perhaps girls are less prone to think it's proper to touch themselves than boys do think it's okay to touch themselves. Now, fast forward to the honeymoon, and a couple is learning how to share sexual pleasure. What feels good to him comes naturally. Yet, for many women, what feels good to her is still a mystery. She expects him to know what to do, and frankly, he is just as clueless as she is. This is a common trope you hear in a lot of honeymoon horror stories, right? And we laugh about it. The big advantage for a woman to know what kind of touch she likes isn't just head knowledge. It's also body knowledge, body learning. It's developing and strengthening the neural pathways so that you can communicate effectively to your spouse what kind of touch you like in sex. Self-exploration also invites you to address your attitudes that you have about your God-given body and its amazing intricacies and potential for pleasure. Exploring yourself helps you appreciate your design in profound ways. It is a gift you can give yourself and your spouse as you develop more confidence in your ability to trust your body's sexual functioning. Consider this analogy. You can read every book written on how to ride a bike, but until you actually get on a bike and start trying to pedal and learn, you'll never really learn how to balance yourself and ride a bike well. There are some things that only come from body learning. I think sexual pleasure and orgasm is one of those. It takes physical action to grow the neural pathways needed to learn how to enjoy sex to its fullest, not just reading or listening alone. And this is one of the blessings that we have as being embodied beings. Having a body allows us to learn these things that we wouldn't learn otherwise if we didn't have a body. And here's another angle on this too. There was a study I read once where they had a group of 70 married women, which frankly is a pretty small sample size, but I think their results were still pretty instructive. They surveyed the women on their overall marital satisfaction and sexual satisfaction in the relationship. They found that all of the women who reported that they masturbate consistently scored higher in their overall marital and sexual satisfaction compared to women that don't. I don't know if this is causation or correlation here. Perhaps a woman that's more open to the idea of masturbation will also be more interested in pursuing sexual pleasure in her marriage, right? And to be clear, I'm not advocating for masturbation in a selfish way that takes one's sexuality away from their marriage. Pleasure matters, and it's completely possible to enjoy sexual pleasure in ways that build your relationship, even if it's you doing the touching rather than your spouse. The idea of touching yourself might be daunting. You might feel guilty or some shame about it. It might feel really awkward. It might be something you don't want to do in the presence of your spouse, at least at first, or something you'll only feel comfortable if you do it together. Whatever path you choose, I do believe that pushing yourself to embrace your sexuality and explore your own sexual potential only has upsides for your marriage. It's worth it to persevere through the initial discomfort and awkwardness of self-exploration, to step outside your comfort zone, to enjoy the possibilities that await you and your spouse. One last note. Many women struggle having an orgasm. Learning your own body and what touch is pleasurable is a step towards troubleshooting this. This has definitely been our experience in our marriage, and I am grateful for the courageous woman I'm married to, that she was willing to figure this out for herself. Her openness with me and involving me in her process of understanding her body has been a great gift to me. Her dedication to exploring her sexuality not only blesses her, but it blesses our marriage 100-fold. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like more great content like this to help improve intimacy in your marriage, click the subscribe button. Also, if you want to send me a question anonymously, you can do so at getyourmarriageon.com. Click on resources and then anonymous questions. See you in the next video.